Hello again, my collecting mates. We have a Tarmac Works Global64 of the Land Rover Defender 110, the latest generation, which is actually only the second generation according to the internet. I think the first generation spanned between 1983 to 2016, and then this one I guess came out in 2019. Alright, so hold on here. Bloody tape. You know, I feel like they're missing opportunities here. This whole back page, they could have photographs of other models instead, and then you'd be like, oh, I want to buy those models too. But instead, there's this strange, like, cartoon looking, well, it's actually kind of cool looking. It looks like a cartoon of this car, but it's already on the front, right? So I don't know, these people didn't take basic marketing classes. I never did, but I at least know how to add photos like Johnny Lightning does and try to sell more products. I'm not even sure why I bothered cutting this nicely because I never keep these blisters. It's just trash that I'm paying for, sadly. And then, well, let's see if this fits the box. Historically, these blisters don't fit the box. You can see it's taller than the box that way. It is not as wide, so I guess that's kind of nice. But essentially, it's not going to fit without some cutting. You'd have to cut a bunch of plastic off to make this fit. So again, making me waste money and also polluting the planet, which ultimately ends up back in your own tissue, body tissue. QC number 5, I've seen that before, and it's didn't help me. But let's see if this one does look nice or not. Let's first compare to some photos. There is a Defender 90 that these guys did, but I just went with the bigger model this time around. I figure I'll get the D90 when it comes out in a totally different color scheme. Alright, so that doesn't look so bad though. It's kind of hard to focus between two objects, of course, so that's the best I can do. As this is an asymmetric vehicle as far as the back quarters go, so that's why I brought up both of these. Try to focus between the two. There you go. And I couldn't actually find a rear photograph of this green one. So, oh well, I couldn't find one with these wheels. That's the difference there. So, yeah, alright. Alright, let's take a look here. I got a new off-roady floor mat here. It's really just 3D. It's just a paper print. It's quite pixelated. This is a pretty nice metallic green I'm seeing here. You know, my camera's making it a different green for my naked eye. It definitely looks greener on my camera screen than it does in person. In person, it almost looks like it's between green and silver. I see a lot of silver in it. Alright, well, anyhow, these wheels here, they look like they're stamped steel wheels. I just don't know if they really are. I'm looking at the photographs and I have a suspicion these actually are stamped steel wheels. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, this is a Land Rover, right? Not an old Land Rover, a new one. So please leave a comment if you know. Are these just retro designed aluminum wheels, or are they actually stamped steel wheels for like durability, even though they're really cheap? It's just, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking you'd put stamped steel wheels on such an expensive SUV. But I do like that there's this black center cap in there, and, well, sadly, poorly painted lug nuts on that one. This one's a little bit better. Let's try these. Okay, so this side we have nice. That's nicely done. That's nicely done. So 50%, I guess, is better than all of them being bad. Actually, the tire here is a little bit messed, but there you go, easy fix. You can always flip them over if there's something really bad on a tire. And speaking of these tires, the tread blocks look good. Even though this is a truck, it is a road-oriented truck in most instances. You know, just looking back at the photographs, you know, they don't look like true off-road tires, you know, like. So these look pretty realistic to me. I like them. You'll notice the wheels are passing air between those spoke holes, so that's good. And then, we have a little texture here, and then black paint on the fender flares. And then the side steps here seem to be a separate piece. Plastic, yep, a little silver there. The door handle sticking out, raised a little bit. But I'm looking at the real photos and it looks like these door handles are black. So, oh, but then the rear photo is color matched. So I guess they could be black or color matched. This must be the fuel filler door. And then, I don't know what is supposed to actually be in this, like tools, or is it just an empty storage box? So the rack here is nice, it's black and silver, it's plastic, and there's a ribbing here on the roof as well. Going to the front here, we have the 110 graphic on the hood. It looks alright, but unfortunately a little scratched paint there. Interesting that it has a diamond plate pattern here, so I wonder if you could actually step on this on the real truck. Please leave a comment if you know. Nice texture here in these bottom 3/4. I'm gonna guess those are LEDs or something, or maybe it's just a brake vent or just a cosmetic vent, but maybe there's an option to have LEDs. Anyways, the headlights look great. You'll notice it's actually sticking out quite a bit. I'm imagining that's what it's like on the real car, you know, so that's nice. It's not just flush. Let's check this side. Maybe it's supposed to be more flush. I wonder. It's hard to tell in those photos. I wonder if that should be pushed in more. Well, anyways, it's nice to have plastic instead of just painted headlights, and it looks like there's a little depth behind that clear lens as well. There's a texture way in here. I can't tell if there's one in there, but that's a really far in vent there. And then silver and the Land Rover logo there. I can't really see if that Land Rover is legible. I think it might be. Maybe not. Well, it's close. The Defender's nicely legible though. Alright, so these mirrors, oh, what do you know, they're actually kind of soft and rubbery. Sorry, I'm trying to focus on something here. Yeah, so I think if you actually drop this, it wouldn't break. Well, there's a chance. It'll definitely survive a fall better than a hard, rigid mirror. And look how thin the stock is. So that's quite interesting. It's actually quite risky. Even rubber, I think, you know, if you dropped it a few times, that would tear. But anyways, it's nice to see some silver paint in the mirror as well, even though it's a rubbery mirror. This side glass is really, there's a lot of oil or fingerprints going on it. Alright, here. Raised wiper blades. A whole bunch of details for those sensors in near the rear view mirror, some texture. There's a snorkel on this guy. Alright. An interesting little groove in that mirror as well. There's also some rain gutters printed underneath that top thing. Ooh, seems like there's a little green again shining through, so there wasn't enough black paint put on there, but that's an easy fix, you know. Just a black marker would make that look nice. I also feel it might be an issue here. Okay, going to the rear here, we have the wheel cover on this one, and it's got Defender nicely molded in there. And then we have actual plastic taillights. Considering, you know, how small these things are, it's quite nice that they added plastic taillights here. I'm not sure what these are. Maybe reflectors or something? They're really small in that rear photograph, but it looks accurate. Some sort of trim level print, maybe? This little rectangle. You see Defender and then something there. I'm not sure what that is. And then the Land Rover here again. I don't know. It's close, but I don't think it's really legible. It's nice to see something printed in the license plate. And then these things, I think I see some toe hooks coming out on the real one, but maybe that's an option or something. This thing has some funky defroster lines. You know, the design of these, how they curve, interesting. Third brake light, I imagine, is what this is, but it's just black. Alright, and then there's a little antenna shark fin there, so that's cool. So the bottom here, nice, tire treads here. Tarmac works. Scale, what the vehicle is, made in China. We just don't know when this was originally made, so that would have been nice, but it is a screwed together base as well. I'm a little curious what the interior of this looks like, so I'm going to unscrew this, and while I'm doing so, I'll actually talk about the vehicle. This thing is built in Slovakia, according to the internet. It is permanent all-wheel drive, locking differentials. So this is a real 4x4. And I mentioned that because one time I had my Mazda B4000, which is really a Ford Ranger, and it was snowing, and I drove off the road, and there's a big gutter off the side of the road. So that Ford Ranger, this was like in the 90s, it didn't have locking differentials. So I tried to reverse, and it just one wheel just spun in the air, because both tires weren't touching the ground. So that is the importance of locking diffs. Only one tire needs to touch the ground and it will move. But with open diffs, it just spun out. I had to wait for a Suburban to come along and tow me out of the ditch. And this is the winter time. It was cold. Alright, so anyways, aluminum unibody and a body on frame construction. 2 to 3 liter engines, 4 or 6 cylinders. There's also a hybrid. Power would vary from 200 all the way up to 525 PS, which is the German way of measuring horsepower. Okay, that's all I learned about this. Oh, duh, this thing didn't actually come out. No, I don't know what the deal is. You saw me break off that little footboard, so maybe taking this apart is not a good idea. I don't know what is holding this thing up. Let me come back. I think it was just some like wet paint or something holding it up. You'll see here the rear fascia here is a separate plastic piece, and it's just like riveted on there. The front here, it's got the bumper with some pins going through it here. That running board was originally pinned in, but I have since torn it off. I think some crazy glue will save it, so I'm not that concerned. Here's the upper construction there. It's interesting that there's not much plastic on the top. Only this little bit is the windshield, and then the side is actually pressed in through some pins. So that's a new way of constructing a model that I have not seen. So pretty neat. Okay. And then here's the good old interior. Standard black molded details. I just don't really like black interiors. It's hard to see those details. So I'm going to spray this to a little bit of a lighter color, and I'll be back. So I painted the interior like a gray color. It seemed fitting. And I will mention that this little footstep was kind of poorly designed, because you can see that the base is actually recessed below the casting. But this is perfectly flat, so ideally they would have had the more plastic here so it accommodates that gap. But anyways, I have some crazy glue in there, so as long as I don't touch it again, it should hopefully be okay. Well, anyways, I'm just grateful it's screwed together so you can fix problems, or in this case, modify the interior a little bit. Alright, so let's take a look at a couple other SUVs here. Alright, so I have this Mini GT Land Rover, but it's an old one, a more classic Defender. So I guess that would be the first generation, but it's got this wacky Merry Christmas thing on it. Sometimes I think about repainting this whole thing, but I think that would be offensive to Christmas, so maybe I'll leave it alone. Alright, let's look at this other model here, a more modern vehicle. In fact, this is so old school, I'm going to get rid of it. We have a green light. It's a Ford Explorer Interceptor, fully modern vehicle. It's actually a little bit bigger than this Defender. And then, still for me, the number one SUV in 1/64 scale is the Kangfei Land Cruiser, because it literally has red coil-over shocks. well, coilover springs underneath it. So you might want to look up the review of that one if that interests you. Okay. Guess it's time for this to spin on its own. Alright, well, I think Tarmac Works did another fine job on this one. I appreciate the rubbery mirrors. That's a big plus. You know, some mirrors shouldn't break off very easily on this one. I appreciate the screwed together base. I guess the only issue is, you know, some of the lug nut details weren't painted properly. And maybe that's it. So that's a really minor nitpick. So, okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if not, well, we'll try again tomorrow. Thanks.